told of a creature that was 6.5 to 7 feet tall.
The CIA ran secret mind control experiments.
It's a tale of a creature that's been seen by many, but believed by few.
And experts say there have been reported sightings of paranormal activity.
And there was this creature, and it ran down this hill.
They say something was flying over their house, and they have no idea what it was.
How the world's most powerful individuals are actually shape-shifting reptilians.
My scariest ghost hunting experience.
All right, good evening. It's Tuesday night. This is Paranormal IRL. I'm your host, JV, along with co-host Britt Griffith. Britt, have you ever been tricked into clicking on something online that turned out to not be what you thought it was going to be? And as I'm asking you that question, I'm about to break out in complete laughter because I am absolutely sure you have. Even though I can't hear you, I am absolutely sure you have. Did you mute yourself or something over there? Because I can't hear you.
I did because I was making noise. So
Yeah.
I figured I would try and be professional and mute, but then I forget to unmute. But which is the way you like it was when I'm a mute. No, it was when I'm muted, not a mute.
But
that was a mute. It'd be tough to do the show.
I could tell by the smiling and the facial expressions that you may have done that once in your life. Clicked on something that you thought was something, and it turned out to be something else. You probably ended up buying something at the same time.
Don't go to whitehouse.com. Make sure it's .gov.
Okay.
Whitehouse.com is a completely different website. I have had lizard harness wings show up at my house because
I remember
the
when
show
that
we used to do.
Yes.
Yes. And I do peruse some of the more crazy websites looking for content for the weird part of the show. So, yes, I do end up in some weird areas, and I'm pretty sure I'm on a really effed up CIA, NSA list somewhere.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. I do have to say one thing, though. The opening, that damn song makes me want to dance. I don't know how you put that together or what you did there, but every time it comes on, I just want to dance in my chair. I don't know.
Well, maybe we'll have to show that live instead of the video that goes with it. We'll just play the music and let you dance to it. That might be fun.
And let me dance to it. Yeah. And the other thing I got to say is that I broke my iPhone and I finally got the replacement and got off of work late and I'm rushing home and I got to get the phone done, but then I got to rush in here. I feel like I'm so discombobulated right now that I'm just totally defeated as to whatever I was trying to prepare.
So it's another Tuesday night is what you're saying. Just like every other Tuesday.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're clear on that. So back to the original point. So you know how you get teased with something and you decide, okay, I'm gonna click on this. So sometimes your better judgment says don't, but it's just that it's too tempting not to. That happened to me earlier today as I was preparing for the show. It's not the only time it's happened, but this was a particularly odd time because the headline was something about couple captures the best UFO footage ever or something like that.
Oh, my God. If they ever put best footage or best or the greatest, you know it's a hook.
I don't. I guess I'm a little naive when it comes to that. So, as you know, I'm not as savvy in the ways of social media as you are. We've established that. So I clicked on it, and then I found it asking for like a $4.99 subscription to something, which I quickly decided, you know what, we're not going to end up seeing that footage tonight because I wanted to feature that footage on the program, but I have no idea what I had gotten myself into, so I backed out rather quickly and rebooted my computer. I don't know if that does any good or not. But yeah.
Yeah, you probably would have bought an alien blow-up doll.
Don't you already have one? Doesn't everybody already have
there.
one of those? I mean, I thought everybody had one of those.
Well, but not you. You're a little pruder than me. I have four of them. But that's a whole different
pruder
party.
an actual adjective? Pruder?
I'm making it now.
So
words are my second language.
I know they are. One of the problems with tonight's show is that our guest has so many topics of interest that we can discuss with her that when I made the title tonight, which you can see is Where is it here? Astral travel and alternate realms. That was like the first two things in a bullet point list of like 30 things that Lindsey Scharmyn is an expert in, or at least familiar with and has a lot of knowledge of. I'm not going to, I'll let her tell us what she's an expert in. But there's so many topics that we're going to have a chance to talk about tonight. It's a question of how many we'll actually get to. There's a lot to chat about.
The one I ran across today when I was doing my research on her being a creeper on the internet, trying to sleuth her and figure out
who's the creeper, she or you?
Me.
Yeah,
because I was creeping on her, trying to figure out who she was.
Okay, wanted to be clear.
Yeah. I don't know her yet to call her a creeper. She could be. I don't know. The creeper title goes both ways. We're not a sexist show, okay? But her she has a whole thing on depopulation, which kind of fits both shows. Mm-hmm. But she said a few things, and then I had to go to work, so I didn't get to listen to all of it. But I want to hear her ideas on what her thoughts are on this whole depopulation thing that's going on right now, because we all know the rich elites are terrified that the peasants are going to take over, and they're trying to depopulate us with sterilizations and chemtrails and Bill Gates stuff. And I'm just hoping she has some. Or what did I say something wrong again? I see you processing.
I was trying to determine if depopulate or depopulate. I realized that you were actually correct that time, and I did not try to correct you. You said depopulate. That's the right word. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it seems like you stuttered. You locked up on that.
I did. I wasn't sure for a second.
Right.
Because I'm used to correcting you, and when you actually were correct, I was kind of frozen like a deer in headlights for a moment. That's what happened.
Didn't know what to do and whatnot.
I did not know what to do. I did not know what to do and whatnot. But let me introduce our guest. Lindsey Scharmyn is a shamanic healer. She's a teacher. She's recovered from severe childhood trauma in order to bring transformative teaching and healing first to students in public schools and now to students of all ages and to the fans of her shows, Rogue Ways and Middle Path. She offers spiritual services, healing, blessings, courses, and I'm not even sure what this particular word is, orgone or orgone. She's going to have to tell me what that is. And crystal jewelry.
Origami?
No, not origami. That's
she makes cool little paper things.
That's very
like
different.
A swan.
Yeah. You can ask that question. I'll ask about the other one. Crystal jewelry to empower people to uplift and heal themselves. She's author of 6 books and counting, a master teacher, a show host, a spiritual guide. See what I'm talking about when I had to come up with the title tonight? There's just so much. An experiencer of other realms and states of consciousness who aims to continue uplifting all of herself in order to uplift the world. So with that introduction, we're very, very pleased to bring Lindsey into the program. Lindsey, welcome to the show. I hope I did it justice in introducing you here, but what was that one word I couldn't get there? There was something orgone or orgone? What is that?
Oh, you did me great justice. Thank you so much. I also have a hard time describing to people what I am and what I do. So we're in the same boat together. I'm like, where would you like me to start? I don't know. But it's orgone, actually. And orgone it's an energy. It's like the force. It's actually super rad. It's the life force energy that permeates everything. And other words that people might be more familiar with are prana and chi.
Okay.
Or just spirit or ether.
Yeah, okay, I'm familiar with those words. Now, does the word orgone come from a particular culture?
It's Wilhelm Reich's work, and he's much ostracized, as all good scientists are, right? So he connected this energy to the orgasm, which was so not appropriate for the time. And so people just, thought of him as a creeper. And as we were talking about creepers earlier, he was thrown into that category as just, and maybe he was. I don't know. I wasn't there. But it's interesting that actually most cultures and traditions connect that same energy with the orgasm. So he wasn't alone. It was just that Western culture wasn't ready to talk about it.
Wow. When was this work being done?
Oh, gosh. I think it was like 1920s or something. Someone's going to correct us because I'm not absolutely positive. But yeah, he developed methods of capturing and I guess enhancing this energy, because when it comes down to it, it's literally everywhere. You're an orgone accumulator and I'm an orgone accumulator. That's life force, right? It's coming through us all the time. We're doing stuff with it all the time. And when we think of our spiritual gifts like psychicness or remote viewing or any of this, healing and all this stuff, that's that's all orgone too, or prana or chi or whatever. So there's practices people have developed, movements and meditations and all sorts of things to enhance your orgone. But he discovered seemingly that if you layered specific substances in a certain way, that you could also create orgone. And so I wish I had some right here. I have a ton everywhere because I make it. But people have gotten to the point where they make it mostly in resins. They cast it and they layer organic and inorganic materials. People get really particular about it and they're very attached to their ways of making orgone. So I don't want to start any fights by going more specific than that.
That's fair. I
like making fights.
Well, you are the creeper. Yeah, I mean, let's face it. As I was learning more about you, Lindsey, I know I was going to ask you how your journey started here, but I know a lot of this is rooted in childhood trauma that you went through. I know it's difficult to talk about some of these things, but share with us what you can.
Yeah, it's no longer difficult for me, but it is. I think it's difficult sometimes to hear or difficult to encapsulate maybe. But I basically grew up very, very poor, which I don't actually think was that traumatizing until I realized other people weren't. That was kind of traumatizing.
I grew up very poor, just for the record.
Yes, we didn't always have food. We didn't always have clothes. We didn't always have a home. But again, I don't know if they meant to or not, but it all seemed fun to me. Like the not having food part wasn't so fun sometimes. But we got to go camping sometimes when we didn't have a house, and that was
Lindsey,
cool.
I didn't grow up that poor. I guess my definition is a little bit different. I always had food in a house. So now you're really starting to make it clear to me what you mean by trauma.
Yeah, so I went to a friend's house. I love this story. Her family had a private jet, so that's how rich they were.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't really know that. We were just friends at school, Yeah. So I went over to her house and I was stunned into silence the vast majority of the time because I had no idea that people lived like this. We went into her kitchen and it was literally bigger than my entire house. She had 6 people living in her house. We had 6 people living in our house.
Wow.
So I was like very stunned. I was like, this alone is weird. Then she just opened a drawer and it was full of food. And she said, do you want some? And I was like, what? You can just like grab food whenever you want? Like this is already mind-blowing. So that's how stunning it was for me to understand how different we had grown up than other people. But in addition, my father was a severe alcoholic. He was in Vietnam, which is enough. He also was addicted to heroin there. He quit heroin, actually, which is amazing to me. But he retained... Tough. Yeah, I mean, that's unlikely. So kudos to him for that. But of course, your trauma when you're murdering and how unjust this war is and the lies that got us in there, he knew all of that. So he was deeply traumatized by that as well. So he came back just super screwed up and he just drank and drugged himself to an early death when I was 11, compounding the trauma. So I watched him slide into that, which was traumatic as well. So there was all these things. And then when he died, I just... all right, this world, nope, it sucks. Like, everybody can F off and I'll just slide into oblivion in a slow, dark descent. And so that then compounded my trauma because I went that path for a while. So it was a lot. It was a very traumatic childhood in many, many different ways. And I definitely added to it by being very destructive for a time.
I always felt, and again, I guess my level of poor was a little different than yours because I did always have the basics. The necessities were always there. But both of my parents struggled. Both of them worked several jobs to provide those things. And I didn't have the things that my friends had growing up, didn't have the same toys or whatever. But I learned to be happy with what I had. Did you ever come out of your childhood feeling that way? I mean, like you learn to appreciate what you do have, and therefore when you become more successful later in life, you really appreciate that success.
Oh, totally. And I look back and like a stick and some long grass was like the best day ever. Like we're going to play army now.
That's a good time.
Yeah.
Yep.
We had trees and like we were actually also lucky too because we were so poor. We had gardens, chickens, goats, and a cow, which were not ours, but we got to be around them, and that was fun for me. So that was part of how we paid the rent was by letting other people throw their animals on our property, which wasn't our property. But anyway, so that was really fun, and I look back at that, and I just wonder how much are kids missing these days? Because I was forced to have a really good imagination. I was forced to spend just countless hours outside. There was literally nothing else and nowhere else for me to go or to do. And kids now don't have that necessarily that option or that opportunity. I mean, it feels to people like the world is less safe. I don't know if it is or not, but people definitely don't let their kids free roam like they used to, like we did. You know, so then I get kind of sad. I do feel like it was a really good experience in that way. And that's what I meant when I said I was pretty happy actually for a long time. I didn't really understand things weren't great until things went really bad. So, and I also look back at that time and I realize I was, you know, experiencing what we might call psychic connection or communication for my whole childhood, and I didn't know it. I just thought that was normal.
I have to, before we get into this spiritual stuff, I do want to ask or comment maybe and get your response, reaction to this. But you mentioned, you know, that you had to have a really vivid imagination. And we're going to tie that into this other stuff that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But today, children are so immersed in their screens, whether it's the television, whether it's the phone, whether it's the computer, whether it's the video game, they don't need an imagination because it is thrown, you know, it's all just fed to them. So when they don't have those devices, when they don't have those devices, they are lost. And I'm a parent, and I'm guilty of the same damn things with my kids because, first of all their friends have a phone, so they need to have one. And, you know, you try to draw the line, you try to be reserved. I mean, my kids, I think, turned out pretty well because I made them do things that other kids didn't do, work and those types of things. But at the same time, it's a whole generation or several generations have lost the ability to imagine and to even play act or develop, you know, their own world in their minds, if you will, because they have to be stimulated by something coming from a screen.
Oh, it is so much worse than we think. You know, if I get really super woo-woo about it, this is actually part of the depopulation agenda as well, because our imaginations are our most powerful tools. We don't think of them as a spiritual tool, but they are. When we talk about our third eye and visions and inner vision, that's our imagination. They're the same exact thing. So we can create with them, and it can be as simple as imagining something and just, that would be fun, right? That's a form of manifesting, actually. Or we can receive images in this way too, or understandings in this way. So when they're dwindling within us, those imaginations, we're losing that potential and that capacity. And I don't think that's an accident. And it is really sad because it's also, you know, there's really simple ways to bring it back, like reading books. And that also has been turned into something that is now on a radiant screen. And the radiant light is actually very bad for you. And it deteriorates your vision, which is a different type of vision, but it's connected, right? And that's even being taken away, right? Books are becoming like, no, good old clunky books. No one needs those. Let's just put it on a disc.
Yeah, it's a bit of a.
They want it on a disc, or they want it digitized because then they can edit it at will. And then, we don't want that anymore. Whoop, just make that disappear.
Remember when it was 1984. They put 1984 on everyone's tablets without asking them. It was similar to the U2 on the Apple. Did they put YouTube music on people's and I was like, they picked that book for a reason. That was no accident. They were showing you we can do anything we want to this, actually.
Wow.
So in real time, right? So I've never connected. I have an e-reader, but it's an e-ink e-reader. It doesn't have radiant light, and I've never connected it to the internet, and I'm never going to.
Wow.
I load it with a cable plugged into my computer like a Luddite.
Wow. You know, it's funny you mentioned
like
funny you mentioned 1984. I just ordered a hard copy of 1984 because I couldn't find mine, the one I had read years ago, and I want a hard copy of it, and I ordered it. It's with Animal Farm, the two Orwell books.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm anxious to get those. All right, so final question that's not related to the spiritual stuff, and this might be one of the most important questions. When did you become a communist?
I think I was 20. I think I was 21 or 22.
Britt's looking at me like, 23. Did she really become a communist?
Yeah.
Or did you just insult her? No, it says here that you were a communist for a while.
So.
Yeah. And I was raised kind of very liberal, and I was in the Puget Sound in the Pacific Northwest, so you kind of have to be almost. And everyone around me was, right? So that wasn't weird at all. But then when I went to Evergreen State College, I was definitely steeped in communist culture. Evergreen is famous now, of course, for the Brett Weinstein, who was fired for not participating in an optional day of presence, day of absence thing they do every year, which has to do with race. And yeah, so that's how that put Evergreen on the map. That was the college I went to for my bachelor's degree. And we definitely were big on the communism there. No one ever called it communism specifically. It was just the communist ideology was woven into everything we did. And I was actually lucky, perhaps, in that I created a lot of my own courses because I actually wanted to graduate with a degree that meant something, unlike most people who go to Evergreen. So I knew what I was doing in the degree I was after, so I constructed courses for myself so that I could do it in the time frame I wanted to. I think that was lucky. I think I got a little less of it. I also got it from my sister was really deep into the Communist Party, and she had also been radicalized into it at her college, which was further north up near Seattle. And so I was very much, it played on the heartstrings of the things I had suffered from as a child, right? No one's ever going to be poor again. Who are these rich fat cats who have taken everything from us and then left us in the gutters? We're never going to let this happen to anyone. And I'm a very compassionate, caring person. So I was like, yes, let's never let this happen to anyone again, right? And okay, how are we going to do it? Okay, we're going to do this and this, and we're going to get all this, and we're going to take all the funds, and we're going to reclaim the government, and we're going to distribute it back to everyone, and then we're going to abolish government altogether, and we're going to be anarchists. And I was like, yes, that sounds amazing. Right, let's do it. Then when it came down to it, eventually, luckily I'm a critical thinker, and luckily I have a spiritual awareness, and those two things have never left me, thank God. Thank God I just continue to use them everywhere I go, and however I get there, I always end up being able to see the truth eventually. Not always right away at first, but those two things really sprung me from that trap. It really plays on, like I said, the emotions, the trauma I had gone through, and that's not an accident. Looking back, this type of ideology relies on the, especially the cluster B personality disorders, narcissism, sociopathy, psychopathy, and the related, how did I just lose the word? Codependence that goes along with that, and a lot of abusive and alcoholic families and that type of thing. That's like a requirement, right? In order to really be sucked in, and also to support this type of forced monopolization of the political and social spheres, to be okay with that, you have to be kind of broken. But like I said, I had this critical thinking still intact, and I had my soul still intact. And when I found out, basically, things started to fall apart a little bit before this. I started to be like, I don't think anyone here actually knows what they're doing or has a real plan. It's all just off. It's just philosophical. But in the meantime, they're okay with possibly burning down a building or doing something even more violent, right? Which is crazy. But when I found out that for sure, no matter what, 100% of people that had any level of spiritual awareness or idea of their spiritual reality, all of them would be put into re-education camps, I was like, well, that's me. And they're like, yeah, I guess you'd be in the re-education camp then. I'm like, that's insane. Because I was kind of okay with it when we were just talking about the religions that at the time I was very hateful towards. I was like, oh, they've done so much damage all throughout history, this story we're told. And they have, but they've also done great amounts of good, which is the story we don't always hear. So, that I was kind of okay with. But once it got to no, anyone who even thinks a soul exists, straight to the re-education camps. I was like, okay, bye. I'm never talking to you guys again. This is weird. I'm going to feel much better now.
Lindsey, you're doing this to me. And when I say this, I mean that you're giving me so many different ways I could take this conversation that I've already decided we're going to have you back. And I'm going to have to make we're going to have subtopics that we're going to talk about, because there's so many ways to go, but we do have limited time. So I want to get to some of this, the more spiritual work that you do. But I have to tell you something. When you were listing the vulnerabilities that people like yourself had, that communism and those types of political thought prey on, I was also in that list hearing the same things that negative spiritual energies prey on. It's like the same list, right?
That's why sometimes I'm not always sure that there is an actual concerted effort to depopulate and globalize, or if it is these sorts of energies that that's how they express, and that's what people are doing with them. Do you know what I mean? It goes both ways, actually. So it's hard to see where's the delineation between them. You're absolutely right about that. You have to be broken in some way to participate in forcing anybody to do anything, period. right? And that's what all of those things come down to. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about your spiritual journey. You obviously, we know how you grew up, what you went through as a child. We talked about you in college a little bit, but at what point did you have this spiritual awakening where you not only realized that you had gifts and you had deep thoughts on these ideas, but you decided to actually pursue it as a way to help people?
Yeah, it's all kind of intertwined in a long, slow, weaving path. But I would say one of the critical moments, at least, where I could no longer pretend that I was either going completely insane or that something actually really important was happening that most people didn't talk about or understand. And there's something more to that, right? It was this moment in time where I think I was about 14 or so when this started, and perhaps 16 when it came to a conclusion. But I was using tarot cards. Suddenly, I went to a sober house party, which is such a fun thing to do. And someone there was reading tarot, and I had never really seen tarot. Like if I had, it's like anyone else at that time, where before the internet, where maybe it was in a movie or two as just like a random scene of like scary witchery or something. So I really had no concept of it, and they were doing it, and I was really fascinated. It seemed really interesting. It seemed like people were like having their futures told, kind of, and I was like, this is weird. So I was waiting, and every other person there actually got their tarot cards read before I did, but I finally was like, okay, I'll do it too. So I jumped in the mix and had this tarot reading done. And if you've ever read tarot cards or know anything about them, there's a few of the deck that are the major arcana, and they're the more profound and just like fundamental life shattering, sort of just the bigger energy cards. And then there's the regular deck that's more like our deck of cards. And then you can also have cards upright or reversed. Well, when she was doing the reading for me, it's a 10-card reading. And as she's flipping the cards, she's like, oh, wow. Oh, this is crazy. Oh, my God. And each card, she was getting more and more shocked. And by the 6th or 7th card, she was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, she's starting to freak out. Yeah, and I was like, dude, don't freak me out. Like, what is happening
Yeah, that's
here?
not what you want to hear during a reading.
No. And what it was is that every single card, and now that I've read tarot for decades, I really understand how crazy this was. Every single card was major arcana, and every single one of them was reversed. And until we got to the end, all 10. There's only 22 major arcana cards in a deck of 76. God, I always mess that up. 70-something. So that's really, really low odds. I'm not a math genius, but it's very unlikely. And it's even less likely that every single one would be reversed. So she was like, I don't know what's going on with you. Like, this is crazy. Like, your life is crazy. And I was like, I don't know. Am I going to die or something? Like, I don't know what's happening. And that was the end of the reading. And then we all had to go to sleep. And then I had to live my life going like, what the hell just happened? So there was no closure to that. But I got very interested in tarot after that. I was like, well, I want to know more. I want to do my own readings. I want to, look into this and find out what it's all about. So I got a deck eventually. I actually got the same deck. Got the books, and I started giving readings to people, and people would trip out when I'd give them readings. They'd be like, how did you know? I was telling them secrets that they hadn't told people before, and I was telling them what was going to happen or what had just happened in their lives that nobody but them knew. And, so then I got this reputation as like the weird tarot girl who could read your cards at parties and whatnot. So, why not? Oh yeah. So then
you gotta tell her what that means.
Go ahead and tell her.
It's one of those words that you just have to say.
Yes. Well, so JV is the consummate professional radio person. He's been doing it since 16, owns stations, every job in between. I am the rookie, and I don't know why he picked me as a partner, but he did. But I say crutch phrases. Whatnot is one of them. And he vowed almost a year and a half ago to break me of saying it, to the point where every time I say, and now anybody says whatnot, he has it on the sound deck that he hits the button so that I don't say it again. So
it's worked.
Whatnot.
It's really worked.
yeah, it actually has.
That is a great way to do it.
When
it's reinforcement.
And when he first started doing it, the sound thing, it was like 19 times a show he would do it. Now it's every now and then.
And the funny thing is as our listeners will often comment, they'll say, I was at the grocery store and the person in front of me in line said, whatnot? And I heard Britt scream, whatnot? So it's become a real thing. Anyway, I'm sorry to have interrupted you with that, but I had to do it.
Oh, you're totally fine. It was good timing too, because it's about to get darker. So,
oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, warning to anyone. It is horrifying, but it's not gruesome. It's not gory. It's just not fun to think about these things happening to people. But essentially, as I was on this tarot journey, I was giving these readings that were just blowing people's minds, and I was like, I'm really good at this. Like ego, yeah. And I'm like 15 now, maybe, and I also have started to have sleep paralysis at this time. My mind at that time, those things aren't connected, and sleep paralysis is a physical, physiognomic, your brain chemicals and all that. Like, that's just all it is. It's scary, but that's it. And, I actually had gone to a sweat lodge by accident, which is the same is true for all of my shamanic experiences all throughout my life. And I was at this accident. My sister, again, dragged me to it. She was like, she had met some woman who had it on her property and wanted specifically young women of like traumatic backgrounds to come and have some healing, basically. And I would have never, ever done it. Like if someone was like, hey, do you want to go sit naked and sweaty with some ladies in a tent? I'd be like, what? No. What?
What?
Now, if somebody asked Britt that question, different story.
Yes.
I'm in.
So
I like sweat.
She knew how to talk me into it. Whatever she told me got me there. When I realized we were going to go into a tent naked together, I was like, it's too late to leave now, and I just kind of have to do this. So very glad I did, though. I know that it was very healing for me, and I also received this understanding from one of the sweat lodge women who said, you're going through something and it's terrifying for you at night, and so just use this mantra. And I was like, what's a mantra? And she's like, just repeat this phrase for yourself, something like, I am safe and protected and nothing can harm me. I am safe and protected, and I would just repeat that. It was actually very helpful, as were all of my other accidental shamanic experiences in life. So I got that. That was nice. So I'm having these sleep paralysis. I'm doing this tarot more and more. It's very crazy for people, and it's very intense and whatnot. Oh no, I said it again. You're gonna get me too. It's gonna be good for me. So, so then I also started having poltergeist-like experiences, and this is where things started getting really disconcerting to me, because this is again where I had to say, either the world is very strange and things happen that I can't explain, or I'm insane. And maybe both, actually. So maybe both. Who knows what's going on? Yeah. And I also did the thing that I think all humans do, which is to explain these things away. Something really weird would happen, and I'd be like, well, it was like the wind and the sun and I don't know, something. And I would just explain it away. So a couple of things then happened that I couldn't explain away, and this is where things all started to sort of come to a head. And one of them was this flashlight. We had these rechargeable flashlights in the 90s, and they were very different than they are now, perhaps, but mine plugged into the wall, of course, and when you took it out, you had to depress a button, not near the plug itself, then the plug like went back into the receptacle fully, and when it clicked, you could release the button, then you could turn the flashlight on, right? All those things had to be done in that order. Well, this flashlight fell off the wall and turned on. Ooh. And at first I didn't even think of it, and then I picked it up and realized the plug had somehow gone all the way back in, and how could that happen? And I kind of just like dropped the flashlight and ran out of the house, because that didn't make sense to me, right? So that left me like, what is happening? And then I started remembering all the other things that were just moving around me and like doing weird stuff and doors closing that I had all explained away. But that one I could not explain away. How did you depress the button and turn it in, and just in the second it took to fall and hit the ground and turn it on? All of that at once. So that freaked me out. Then one night, very soon after I was home alone, I was on my computer, and under my computer, my dog would sit, and he, kind of near my feet, and that was just our routine. And I was playing solitaire or something, and I started just getting that feeling that all of us have had, that someone's watching me. But I'm home alone, so no one's watching me. But I keep like even turning around to see, like, this is so weird. I just like had this feeling like someone's here, starting to freak me out. And then I got really, really cold. And I was like, how did it get that cold so quickly? That's also very weird. And I'm like, I'm kind of scared right now. So it feels like someone's watching me, and the house just got really super cold. And then my dog wakes up, and he comes out from underneath the desk, and he looks right behind me, the place where I keep looking, feeling like someone's watching me, and he starts growling. Ooh. I get chills even now because this dog, even if any dog did that, it'd be freaky. This dog, I literally, in the 12, 14, however many years I'd had him, had never heard him growl once in any situation ever. So that freaked me out even more. Like something really bad is right there. We both feel it. He sees it or something can growl at like, and so I ran to my room and jumped under the covers, which is the eternal place of safety for all people.
Yes. That thing
impenetrable. It is
protects from all.
It's impenetrable.
Yes.
Yes. So I sat under my bed, terrified, with my dog. I made him come in with me. I fell asleep and, I forgot about that event. But it was within a night or two of that where the whole time I'm sitting here going, okay, so how do I tell people that I think there's like a ghost or something in my house? I don't even really believe in ghosts and things, and I don't know what's happening. And I just kept thinking, it'll just go away, right? It'll just go away. Still having never connected this to my sleep paralysis. So one night then I go to sleep. I'm sleeping, I wake up, it's sleep paralysis for like the 100th time in my life. So I'm doing my mantra, I'm safe, and whatever I would say at the time. And then I realize I can see. And then I think, well, that's weird because my eyes are closed and I can't move. And then I realized I could see in any direction I wanted to. And now looking back, I'm like, this was my first out-of-body experience, right? But at the time, I had no idea what was going on, except my body couldn't move, and then I was out of my body. But I didn't really have the words of the idea. I didn't understand how to even think of that. I just knew I could see my room, and it was my room, and that it was real time. I could hear, like, the TV in the other room, and I'm like, this is, like, realer than real, actually. So it was very strange, and then I felt that feeling that I had felt, a few nights before of this, like dark energy possibly watching me or whatever. I felt that. And then I heard my dog whining and scratching at my door. And then I saw a black mass of just formless sort of smoke come through the door.
This is all while you're in that state, right? Okay.
Yes, exactly. But I also was, clearly my dog, again, knew this thing was there and coming. He doesn't scratch and whine at my door. Like that is not a thing he had ever done before, but he did it right as this thing is coming through the door, as though to say, oh my God, I wish I could come in and protect you from whatever this is, or please wake up. And, I don't know. He knew, it seems. So I'm looking at this black mass and I'm like, oh, this is the thing that's been throwing things around the house. This is the thing that was there the other night that freaked me out, that freaked him out. And I'm scared. And I'm like, because I can't move and I don't know what to do. And then it sort of starts morphing into a little girl shape. And as it does that, I'm thinking in my head, oh, it is a ghost. It's a little girl ghost. I'm not thinking about why is it black? Why has it been terrorizing me? Why is it throwing things in my house? Yeah. I'm just thinking, oh, it's lost and it needs to get to heaven. And I always point this out to people at this point, that this thing knew that becoming a little girl shape would, first of all, lower my defenses because little girls are little girls. And second of all, it knew that I would get this ego trip about it, where I would think, oh, I must be a special person who can help ghosts go to heaven. That's what I was thinking, right? And that's a dangerous thing to think at that moment. So it started coming closer to me as I'm thinking this. And luckily, something said very clearly into my mind, very loudly into my mind, that's just what it wants you to think. And when it said that, I got chills. I knew that it was true. And the thing seemed to hear this as well. And right when it heard this, it started jumping towards me much more quickly than it had been moving before. And all of this happened in just a second. And I realized I was in great danger from whatever this was, or it felt like I was. And I didn't know what to do. I had nothing to do. So I said, "Dear God, help me." And dear God did help me, it seems. And a shield literally appeared like around me, like an energy shield. And it was right before this thing got to me and it hit that shield and bounced off of it. And it was so angry. I could hear its anger in that realm, and it sounded worse than anything I've ever heard before, and I can never describe it precisely, but it was something like the combined cries of every person while metal is like scrunching and bombs are exploding and thunder is crashing. Like it was all the negative sounds you could imagine at once, like as a scream of anger because it couldn't get me and it had been thwarted. And that was more terrifying, I think, than the rest of it, because it was like right next to me, and I'm like, I still don't even understand what's happening right now. And eventually I wiggled the pinky, like you do if you've ever had sleep paralysis, and then I could move, and then I jumped up and I ran into my mom's bed and got under the covers, because that's the other eternal
ultra safety place. Yes.
Right.
So let me ask you a question here just quickly. The voice that you heard that made you basically become aware of the situation. Do you think that was God's voice, or some type of what do you think it was? I guess is a better way to ask it.
I will nebulously call it an ally at the very least, right? And then some people like to call that my guide. This is definitely one of what people would call my guides. But I will also say that that's an angelic energy that came and that moment, because it knew that there was nothing else. I didn't have faith or religion or spiritual. I had a knowing of some kind that there was something, but I lost it when my dad died. When I went into that dark descent, I decided there was no such thing, and there wasn't even love, actually. So I was slowly going back to what I had always had, but I just didn't really have any defenses at that time against something like this, and this force and energy knew that. So yeah, I'll leave it at that, and people can decide how they think of those types of helpers. But and I didn't know, what was going on after this point. Obviously, I didn't know what was going on before this point, but it was really much worse now. And now it's the middle of the night. I'm in my mom's bed. She's sleeping. She doesn't even care that I don't want to wake her up and be like, so here's what's going on with me. That's a weird conversation.
Let me tell you a weird story, Mom.
Plus,
she's going to commit you.
Exactly. I'm just insane. That's the only explanation, because we don't have a culture or society that talks about these things, so I had nothing to go off of. So all night long, I actually am then having these visions. I couldn't sleep at all. I was terrified, but I'm also having these visions that are more horrible than anything I care to describe, nor have I ever seen anything even come close in movies to how just disgusting and depraved these things are. So I know they're not coming from me, even though at the moment I'm also like, well, I'm insane, so they are coming from me. But I just knew, I'm like, I can't even come up with this if I try. Where is this coming from? And I was just being tortured. And in the morning, of course, I went to school.
Geographically, where's this at?
This is over near Seattle in the Puget Sound is where I lived and grew up.
It's still all up in the Northeast or the Northwest.
Yes. Northwest, yes. Yeah, so I went to school. I drove to school, actually, and I got out. And I always like to emphasize at this point, again, to people that I had, again, that long, slow descent into darkness. I had done a lot of drugs in the meantime, which instantly at that moment, people are like, oh, she was crazy. And you can think that if you want. But at this moment, I hadn't. Yeah. And I had gone to school after, days of debauchery, and people had seen, black eyes and just like how you do when you're not doing well. So they'd seen me in very negative for years, in very negative ways. I got to school that day and I hadn't been drinking or drugging or anything. And, but this had happened the night before and I hadn't slept, but, I hadn't slept many days in addition to all the other. Anyway, so I get to school and instantly the first person who sees me, they're like, oh my God, what happened? Did your dog die? Is someone die? And I was like, whoa, no one died. Like, wow, do I look that bad? And they're like, yeah, you just look like, and they couldn't even tell me why they felt like I looked. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I just need to get to class. So I'm walking. Someone else sees me. Same thing. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? What happened? I'm like, oh my God, nothing happened. What are you talking about? Keep walking like the third person does. And I can't handle it anymore. I'm like, I didn't sleep. Something super crazy happened. Everyone can seemingly see it. No one has ever done this to me on all those times I've shown up in the weirdest states. And now everyone can just see this on me. Something is definitely wrong. So I kind of started putting it together. I'm like, my dog knew that something was there. These people seem to know that something's going on. Maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe something is actually happening to me. So I called the only people I had ever heard talk about anything paranormal. And they were super fundamentalist Christians who actually believe in demons, which is actually rare. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but most Christians don't actually believe in demons. That's just not part of it that they took. So this was rare for me too, that anyone believed in demons. And so I called them and I told them, I'm really in a lot of trouble and I need some help. Can I come over? And they're like, of course, skip school and come to our house. So I did. And I got there and they were just ready. They knew, because they knew that I had done tarot cards. And so in their minds, no matter what, there was demons around me. Right. And that's a separate conversation. But they were like, and they had been wanting to save my soul for years. This was my friend's parents, and so they were just so ready. So I told them what had happened. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're under demonic attack. You have demons attacking you." And I'm like, "This is crazy," but I think they're right because I don't know what else this could possibly be. So they're like, and I'm like, "Okay, tell me what to do then. What do we do about it?" And they're like, "Oh, you just pray to God. You just ask Jesus into your heart." I'm like, "That sounds really easy. Can we do it right now?" And they're like, "Yes, let's do it right now." So we did it right then. And when I said the prayer, however it goes, when I got to the moment where you say something like, "Jesus, please come into my heart," head to toe, full peace.
Oh, wow.
Head to toe, full peace. I can't stress it enough because I didn't actually know in that moment how tortured and hellacious my experience had been until it was gone and lifted off of me in a moment. And I started crying. I was like, "Oh, thank God." Because that thing, whatever it was, whatever people want to call it, and I am not attached to the word anymore. At the time, I was like, "Yep, that was a demon, and Jesus is the only way to salvation, and everyone needs to be a Christian." And luckily, I grew from that too. I still love Jesus, and I will call it a demon, but I know there's many other names that also fit, and so I'm just not attached to it. But that worked, and I've heard this from so many other people as well, that invoking Jesus can have so many positive effects for you. And you don't have to be a Christian for this to work. And you don't have to become a Christian afterwards for it to work. And you can that's how awesome Jesus is. So people at this point also often think I am a Christian. And I will say I'm a Christian in that the word Christian means to try to be Christ-like. And yeah, I think that'd be awesome if everyone did that because he seems like a pretty badass guy to me. And clearly a powerful spiritual energy.
So have you ever thought about why you were so aggressively attacked? Because most people don't go through this, that are in this world
Yes.
and have issues. They were so specific. Have you thought why did they come after you so hard?
Yeah, there's a couple answers. So one is the way that girl did tarot readings way back when. This goes all the way back to that moment. She did it by invoking a spirit. No attachment to what kind or what they're into or what their goals are, nothing about it has to be good or true, nothing, just a spirit. So when I did that, because she has the person she's doing the reading for do it, I invited it in. So first of all, I always like to make that clear. I literally chose this, and it can't happen without that. You can't just have a random demonic attack. Sorry, that's not possible. We do have free will. So I did, with free will, invite this thing in. And why such a powerful one? Because again, everyone else that night also did that. And as far as I know, none of them experienced any of those things. So why did such a powerful entity come and attach to me? Well, again, going back, ever since I was little, I'd actually always been talking with source or spirit or guides. I just didn't know it. I'd always been psychic. I just didn't know it. I just thought that was just normal. And people just thought I was really, really smart. I was in all the gifted programs and stuff. And I'm like, no, I think I just get told things. I just know the things.
Oh,
I don't.
So you're a cheater.
Maybe I'm smart, but yeah, I'm a cheater. I'm a spiritual cheater. So I think they knew,
Wow.
I had this channel and these gifts, and that would be much better served to their side than mine, right? Or they could use that to their advantage.
Do you think they came after you to use you as a tool because you were so good at it? Or they came at you to corrupt you and take you because they were afraid of what you could do to them if you went the other way?
Both. Those are both what they wanted, right? So they could use me as a tool to corrupt me further and detach me further from all that's good, true, and beautiful, and also to then corrupt others if possible, right? But also to keep me from doing any of the good that I could then later do the further I went on this path, which has been a lot now. And I never sought that either. But again, life just had that plan for me, and that's just how things have gone. I just do what I'm told, I like to say now. Yeah.
That's what I'm told. So this is an out of left field question. Do you notice that, if you're at a house and you walk by the breaker panels, or if you're near a transformer, do you feel that? Can you feel the EMF change? Are you sensitive to that?
I can feel it. I can hear it. And it often malfunctions because I'm there. A lot of electronics.
Right.
I've had to practice a lot to not have electronics malfunction around me. So yes, I'm both sensitive to it, and I have a large field myself, which electronics don't always like to interact with.
Right. That's interesting. It's just every time we talk to somebody who's like you, they seem to be able to pick up on that EMF field, or they're sensitive to it. They can definitely tune into it, and I think that's part of your secret.
I do. I think it's all EMF, actually. You know, this is all just spectrums and wavelengths, and we just have perceptions. And I also think everybody literally could do anything that I do. I don't think everyone has the desire, which is totally fine and great. And I don't know if everyone has the commitment that they, you know, to actually get to whatever point they might be more in alignment with their own spiritual skills and stuff. I didn't say the word.
Stuff.
I've got my finger on the button. If you do, don't worry. I will let you know.
Oh. He's hovering over it. He's like, oh, I'm gonna come on, say it, please say it. I'm gonna. I think he would poke me in the forehead if we were in the same room. Where are you? Where are you currently? Are you still in the Northwest, or are you somewhere different now?
No, I just left actually a handful of years ago in a radical shift in my life where I lost and got rid of literally everything and just went into a van and drove into the wilderness for what I thought was going to be a couple years. But then I landed here in Colorado and found my soulmate. And now I'm doing all the things I've ever dreamed of doing and more. And it's really beautiful. I'm so glad that I destroyed my previous life. Everyone thought I was crazy again.
Again. And you know, everything has a reason, right? We just don't know until we do it. So do you what are you doing now? I mean, what do you do with this gift that you have? How are you using it today?
Well, I did eventually go back to tarot, which may weird some people out because for a while I definitely did not. I was like, that's how you get demons? No. But I did learn eventually how to use any oracle or any spiritual gift in alignment with light or source or goodness or whatever people want to call it, God, Jesus, anything you like, instead of just some random negative energy or entity. And we all have that ability as well to align with, you know, one or the other or somewhere in between. So I did learn to do that first. I went back to tarot, but in a good way. And I started offering people readings, and I just did it for free and for friends. And just for a while I did that. And I also was sort of just like the spiritual counselor for people. Like they just knew that I was the person to go to if weird things were happening or if they didn't understand or if there was just a spiritual crisis in their life. So that just kind of was always there. And eventually when I, you know, released my entire past life, which was as a teacher of public school and otherwise, I basically was told by my guides to start doing more, and I didn't really know how. You know, I'd had a lot of spiritual teachers on accident again, a lot of shamans of various traditions and places in the world, and also of Eastern traditions and Buddhist and Hindu and all sorts of things. I was even a Rastafarian once. So just its own crazy story. I'm
all over the place.
Yeah. I'm just interested in anything, and I'm like, oh, this is rad. Why do you think this? What do you think? What's your traditions? Like, what are your ways? Like, I love all of it. I love philosophy. I love anthropology. So I just kind of stumble into a lot of these things, and a lot of them literally just grab me like off the street and are like, you need to come learn this, and you need to get this healing. And I'm like, okay, sure, let's do that now. So eventually I had all this cluster of learnings and experiences of my own demonic encounters and demonic battles and things that had prepared me unknowingly to offer services to other people. And my guides told me, you have to start doing this and just, you know, and I was like, well, what do I even call myself? And they're like, who cares? And I'm like, well, what do I call the thing I'm doing? And they're like, who cares? The people who need it will come and you will be able to offer them whatever they need. And I just had to trust that because it did not seem or feel right to me. I was like, these guys are crazy. Like, I'm not. Yeah, right. You do it, they will come. So I started offering what I called healing ceremonies for people, in which we, you know, removed and cleared out any negative energies that came up, including entity attachments or demonic attachments.
Those on or off?
All on, yeah. In fact, this is all remote. Okay, I do this remotely. So I've never actually even done it for a person in front of me. It's always been remote since I started doing it. Yeah, because I started doing it right in the middle of all the shenanigans this past few years.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I was like, are you sure?
Okay, so with you doing that remote and you're able to tune in and help, do you think that when you can start doing it in person, you'll be even better at it or even more connected or more detailed?
I honestly don't. I've realized, because at the beginning I thought this isn't going to be that powerful because we're not with each other and we often don't know each other that well, and it's just been a brief connection and then it happens. But I've realized in that space that I go into and that anyone can go into, there's no time and there's no space. It doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to the guides and the allies there. It doesn't matter to our souls that are there. It doesn't matter at all. They're not connected to that. They don't care. So I even have learned, when I do these ceremonies now, that they travel in all directions in time. The effects of them travel in all directions in time. So what happens during the ceremonies, often people will say, that's so weird because for the past 2 weeks, those specific things have been coming up and been like, either agitating me or like suddenly easier than I ever thought they would be. And it's like, well, that's why, like, this is the moment we're experiencing it in linear time, but your whole soul is experiencing it and it has no time or space. And then it continues for weeks after the ceremony to be affecting them and to be helping them integrate and release trauma and release all kinds of old things. And so it's become this really powerful thing over time. At the beginning, I was like, well, if somebody wants to try this, let's do this. It's, free. And then I realized it was effective for them. I was like, okay, well then let's try it like this. And it's just grown the more I do it. So even though I've had so many teachers, I've had so much experience, this has really become its own thing that's kind of morphed from all the traditions that I've ever practiced, which is also interesting. But I also now do one-on-one sessions with people where I call a guidance session. So if they just have like questions for their guides and their allies, it's kind of like a psychic channeling session where they can receive answers and receive and sometimes some interesting things come through, like past life stuff or even deceased people. I'm not a traditional medium, but people who have passed on sometimes pop in for a guided sessions. So things are expanding all of the time, which is true, I think, for anyone who has gifts. It just does. It just grows.
Right. Have you ever gotten a message and you're like, oh, in your head, I don't want to tell them that. Oh, geez, no. Or it's like super personal, like, that's ixnay on the tite, or whatever.
What did you just say?
No.
What was that pig Latin that you just used?
We shall never repeat this again.
Something like super personal,
I'm clipping that out later.
I don't want to.
I am clipping that out, and that won't be the last time you hear that, I'll tell you. I've got several of those types of clips from Britt, by the way. He does not always think before he speaks.
No, I'm a stream of conscious, no filter person. But what do you do when you get something that's so personal or so inappropriate that, it makes sense between said person that's chatting and that, but for you to articulate it, I was like, well, this ain't. How do you deal with that?
Well, I remember I was a teacher for 14 years, and so I had a lot of practice dealing with ranging all the way from like the disgusting to the completely inappropriate to because that's what kids do. They just like, let's take everything to the limit. So I have a lot of experience dealing with sensitive subjects with people in an appropriate way, but it is sometimes I'm like, I don't want to say that to someone. For example, what I'm going to say might be the reason that they end up leaving their partner of 20 years, right? Do I want to be any part of that, right? But I've finally accepted it doesn't come through unless it needs to be communicated. There's all kinds of things I'm never going to know about that person. Those things didn't come through, right? This is the thing that came through, and it came through because the person needs to hear it. And I also have accepted I'm not responsible for what anyone does with what comes through. So if they, for example, do leave their partner, we all know this if we really think about it. That wasn't actually why they left their partner. They had been thinking about this. They had been dealing with this for some time. And this was the moment where they finally got to really accept it in their conscious mind. That's all that really happened. It wasn't even really to do with me at all. So I've accepted that too, that it's not my responsibility in that way. At the same time, I take a deep responsibility in my duty to be very fair, very balanced, and very sure about how I present things to people when they're that delicate. If that makes sense.
I'm so sorry. Prince Pig Latin has me cracking up, and I can't control myself.
You're trying to decode it.
I don't have to go far because it was pretty clear what he was saying. And I posted it in chat, and people are having a ball with it. I'm sorry. So I apologize for this interruption, but my eyes are watering. I'm laughing so hard. That's part of the problem here. Listen, we don't have you for much longer.
I can keep going.
No, you always can. We don't have, Lindsey, we don't have you for much longer. And I want to ask you about this alien and UFO interaction, because you've had some of that as well, right? And how does that tie into all this? A lot of people think they're the same energies and the same interdimensional type of beings versus some type of aliens from other planets, although they could be that too. What are your thoughts on all that, and how has it affected you?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. I have a couple experiences when I was younger, before I invoked Jesus and welcomed him into my heart, where I believe that it's possible that I was being physically abducted. And I don't know if that was by aliens. That's what I thought. That's what I would have thought. I did seem to have implants. That seems to go along with the story. But I also know that those oftentimes are associated with people of military families and military descent, and that perhaps it's more human than anything else, and maybe some exotic technologies are going along with that. So I don't really know for sure what that was all about. The other series of experiences I've had since I was young until continuing till today are what people might call UFOs. They're lights in the sky most often. Most often they're at night, although I've seen them plenty of times in the day. I've seen them up close and far away. I've seen them morph into various objects and shapes, and I've come to understand that they don't have an objective shape, and they don't have a physical presence in the way that we think of physical stuff. They are interdimensional beings, as far as I could tell. That's what they also indicate about themselves. And they're similar to what we would call angels or demons. They just can appear in so many ways, right? They can appear as a black cloud of nothingness at your bedside, or they can appear as a bright, shiny light off in the distance in the sky, or as literally anything else they want to appear as far as I can tell. So interdimensional, jinn, angels, demons, aliens, light beings, these are all one sort of category to me. And I know, again, that'll start some fights with some people, because people are very, very attached to their conception of what this is.
You're right about that, but I'm also hearing this type of explanation or theory, if you will, more often. So I think more people are starting to make those connections, and it's making sense to me. I mean, I listen to all sides. I have a lot of guests on the program and a lot of different theories and ideas, and I love hearing them all. But then you start to weave it together, and you start to come up with some conclusions, and this is starting to make a lot more sense.
Yeah, and I leave room for all of it, because I don't pretend to know the entirety of the universe, right? I just know my experiences and what they seem to indicate, and that's why I also say things like, it seems that way so far, and that's what is indicated. But I've realized too that a lot of what when I'm interacting with these beings, they're psychic, if you want to call it that. They understand what you're thinking, and they can respond to it and react to it, and they can even communicate back if you can receive. And so if you wanted to do that, you could. But I also now have realized that I channel them through in my writing. And so I've recently been doing that more. In fact, I've been asked to, and like I said, told to do so. So I've done what I was told and sat down to write. My most recent book is The Key of Transformational Healing. And it's very short, very sweet, and it's very powerful and very profound. And what happened, I'll try to keep it brief, but I was driving and my phone came up with a reminder, and the reminder said, consider writing The Key of Transformational Healing. And I had never put that reminder in my phone as far as I knew. But there it was. And this is, again, another thing that happens to me all throughout my life is electronics do weird things and things that don't make sense. So I think it's easier for these beings to manipulate our electronics, because of those fields we were talking about in the electromagnetic frequencies. So as far as I can understand, one of them put that in my phone. And so I said, well, I guess I'm supposed to consider writing The Key of Transformational Healing, whatever that is. So I sat down at the computer and I type things. I don't handwrite them. Sorry for all you purists out there. But I
can't hear you, Britt. If you were talking, I couldn't hear you.
And so I sat down to write it, and I also said, okay, what is this supposed to be? And I thought I would just kind of get ideas, because I've written fictional novels in this way before, which I later understood as a form of sort of channeling, where things would just sort of come to me in vision and whatever. But this was different. This was like a pure word for word messages coming through. So I just typed out like a stenographer what I was understanding in my mind, and this is the book that came out, and it blew my mind. I was like, oh wow, like some of this
I did that.
cool. Yeah. So, and people will say that, like, you wrote this book, and I'm like, I don't think I did. I just stenographered this. I just been like midwifed this book. So the book is The Key of Transformational Healing, and I love it. It is channeled, it is profound, it is very deep. If you're a spiritual seeker at all, I'd say it's a great read. But I also want to promote this All Endings Are Beginnings, because it's also channeled in a similar way. I just didn't necessarily know it actually at the time, because these were the endings to each of my shows I do every week. And people would always comment like, wow, those endings are so great. And I was like, yeah, I should take them and put them together in a book. And every time I wrote one of these endings for my shows, it would always just so happen to perfectly encapsulate like everything we had talked about, even though I don't script my show, just like you guys don't necessarily script your show. You have an idea, but you're not sure what we're going to end up talking about, right?
Well, you never know what Britt's going to say, so we have to roll with it. Ixnay on the tite.
Hey, they said
where can we get your books at?
You can get them from me.
Oh, I got to make a new shirt.
Ixnay on the tite?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a shirt.
So you can get it. Oh, I'll just add. That's okay. I'll just add with All Endings Are Beginnings that it's a great oracle. You can ask it a question and open to a page, and it will give you the answer. So if you don't want to learn tarot or all these things, this is a really, really good book to have. So they're both really great if you want to buy them. They are on my site at rogueways.org. You can get them directly from me, and I write a little inscription for you, or you can get them at Barnes & Nobles or Amazon or wherever you like to buy books.
I was going to ask you, because I know you have more than those two books. Are some fiction? Is that what you said earlier, that you wrote some fiction as well?
Yeah, so I have 2 fictional novels of the trilogy done, and there's one more coming. And so those are also available on my site or anywhere that books are sold. And those are really fun reads if you're into the idea, especially of the Yuga cycle, the Golden Age, Dark Age, Golden Age, Dark Age. That's 26,000 years and repeating over and over again. These books are going into those. So they're set very far apart, so you can read them in any order, actually, but they are all interconnected.
And a lot of folks in our chat room, because I see we're basically out of time here, but a lot of folks in the chat room have asked, how can I get in touch with Lindsey? I'd love to have a reading. We've put the website up. I'm assuming that's the best way, but offer it again in any other way you think that people should look up your work or follow what you're doing.
Yeah, rogueways.org is the best way. It is Rogue Ways as in pathways, not as in ocean waves, so Rogue Ways. And if you go there, there's some links at the top and some easy ways to get to the place where you can just pick which spiritual service you want and schedule it, and it's all taken care of easy peasy. There's a contact form, so if you just want to ask some questions or talk to me a little bit about what might be best for you, you can do that too. Oh, there was one more thing I was going to add right then, but I don't remember what it is.
Did you say that if someone was interested in scheduling a reading, they could do that through the website? And how far out are you? I mean, because, how far do you schedule out?
I'm usually a couple weeks out. Every once in a while it gets pretty backed up and it's like a month or so. But, if that were true and you were in some like desperate need and you felt like you really wanted to get in sooner, I usually have a few windows where I can kind of plot people that I keep open for those types of things. So that's possible too, but it is on the site is the best way to schedule. What I wanted to say that I just remembered is right when we're done with this, I'll go make a coupon and I'll call it Beyond Reality. Is that good?
For us, actually call it Paranormal IRL. Paranormal IRL. Yeah, we've rebranded the show with more from Beyond Reality to Paranormal IRL.
So if everyone wants to wait, at least like 5 minutes or so after we're done, I'll get that coupon up and we'll give a little discount for your beautiful listeners out there.
Well, thank you. So again, if they go to your site and they book a session, and you'll have this promo code on there, Paranormal IRL, and they'll get a little discount. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
exactly.
very generous of you. Thank you.
Nice. I should say, thank you. I actually can't take a discount off the sessions. I just realized because they're done through a different way. I can offer you a discount on any of the orgone, the medicine bags, the books, and anything else I sell on the site itself. But it's a different system that I use for the scheduling for the sessions, and I can't do discounts on that. So I'm sorry.
That's okay. So discount on products and stuff that you're selling on the site, but you can't do the sessions. By the way, Victoria in our Foxhole chat asking about the question of the website, the spelling. It's Rogue Ways, ROGUE Ways, WAYS.org, right? Did I get it right?
Absolutely. Yep. Yes, you nailed it.
Perfect. Lindsey, you are a treat to have on the show. Thank you so much for being here. And like I said, I've got this list of things, and we didn't even get through like 2. So we have a lot more to talk about. So I'm hoping you'll agree to come back at some point. We'll have our producer reach out, but I'd love to go down some of these other paths with you as well.
Oh, yes. I will come back anytime. You guys are a hoot to hang out with. So
yeah, thank you for putting up our sometimes warped sense of humor, but we try to make it fun as well as interesting.
We share that. We're all in good company here. Yeah.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Once again,
we should do a Friday night drinking show with her.
Oh boy.
Well, I don't drink. I'm sorry. I know. I'm a weirdo.
No, that's better.
I don't drink either. I'm just naturally a dork. So
all right.
I could take shots of
Brett,
water.
I'm trying to let Lindsey go here. I'm trying to let her go. I've said goodbye 3 times, and
I like her so much I don't want her to leave.
All right. Anyway, thank you again, Lindsey. It's rogueways.org. We will see you again, I promise, and take care of yourself until then.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Britt, when I'm saying goodbye, you got to let me say goodbye. I mean,
no, I don't want her to go.
Ixnay
She
on
was
the
fun. Tite, come on. She laughed at it. That's my kind of girl.
You had no idea what was coming out of your mouth when
she
you did that.
I don't. I don't even speak Pig Latin. But she didn't recoil. She laughed and she rolled with it. She's the perfect guest.
Thank goodness she has a good sense of humor. That's all I can say, because I could not stop laughing after that. I was dying over here, and I didn't want to be insulting because I wasn't laughing at Lindsey. I was laughing at what you said. I just couldn't stop.
I don't get to ask those questions, but I always wonder. I mean, what happens when they get a message that's like completely inappropriate? Because I'm telling you, if I was dead and channeling to my girlfriend type thing, it would be completely inappropriate. Because that's the only way they would know it was really me.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no,
I mean, come on.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I don't get to talk to people like this too often, so I got to ask the crazy questions.
Yeah, that wasn't a crazy question. That wasn't not a crazy question at all. I've asked that question 1,000 times of psychics. You know what happens when you get a message that's bad news or uncomfortable, or you see that somebody's going to die? Somebody's going to, what do you do? And
yeah, what do you do with that?
So
I was more about the sexual stuff, and I saw you banging my best, whatever. Those kind of messages. Do you just kind of shy away from it? Go, I'm not going there. But she answered it.
Yeah.
It's like, if it's being said, they got to know.
What an amazing story, too. And I love her awakening. I love the fact that she was, I mean, I don't know. She might still be very liberal. I don't know. And I don't mean to be too political here. But the fact she was a communist, she took all that energy
it's great.
and applied it to a political path and then realized, wait a minute, that's all garbage, but I can take that same energy and those same experiences and apply it to this spiritual path. And that's pretty cool. Yeah. That's a pretty cool transition.
She would be interesting on the other show just to see what her take is on life. Because she called the COVID stuff shenanigans.
Yeah. Did you
I think she would fit
Did
right
you see
in.
what I texted you, though? I really think that it's Trish with longer hair. Trish from Independence Gang.
I thought it was Trish's cousin. Yeah, I thought it was Trish's cousin.
It was like
when she first started talking, I was going,
yeah, very, very similar.
That's what I was. When she started talking, I was like, where's Trish at?
Yeah,
is she in here somewhere?
Yeah, isn't that funny?
I thought it was Trish.
That was cool. That was neat.
That would be a hoot.
That was really cool. Anyway.
Oh my God, what a trip! Yeah, we definitely and she could, and she talked. She talked more than me, and that's hard to do. And I was like riveted. I didn't want to talk.
Well, the nice thing about her talking is that, unlike you, she actually made complete sentences, and that was kind of neat. That was kind of a treat for me.
Well, but come
sentences.
On, she was a teacher for 14 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Words are my second language.
That's true. That's all true. That's all true.
What not? True. Do we have trivia?
Yeah.
What? I didn't say what.
No, you didn't. I just felt like we needed one. It's kind of it's kind of become an exclamation point.
Did you notice when she said, she was like, oh, she said what not, and then she went, oh, like before you hit the button, she was like, in a quick 13-second back and forth about the whatnot word.
I know.
She was self-censoring it.
And I want to make it do this.
Whatnot.
But I got to make it so it's automatic because I can't do it manually.
Whatnot. Oh boy.
Have that pop up with the whatnot every time. Oh man. Okay, yeah, I do have some trivia here because Scooter's asking. Yeah, a lot of people in chat are recognizing
the promo code should have been whatnot.
I know that Sergeant Peterson said that in our Foxhole chat.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Ay. Okay, so let's do a couple trivia questions to keep Scooter happy. We like to have Scooter happy. Are you ready? You ready to test your knowledge of?
This sounds stupid. Yeah, I'm ready. You know, we should have done the trivia questions with the teacher on the show. She would have been smart and answered them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe do that. Naughty trivia? No, I don't have any naughty trivia. What I do have is the trivia of the day calendar that we are now on August 2nd of 2021. So we're making progress catching up. Here we go. First, Brittle Ace, the naughty trivia, probably. Here we are, the first question.
Probably.
Yeah. What club dating back to 1904 is headquartered at a Jacobean revival mansion known as the Lowell Thomas Building in New York City? What club dating back to 1904 is headquartered at a Jacobean revival mansion known as the Lowell Thomas Building in New York City?
That would be the Comedy Club.
The Comedy Club? Just some random comedy club that was founded in 1904?
No, it's not a random. No, I mean, it's the actual comedy. It's where they used to do all the roasts out with, Jerry Lewis and
Jerry Lee Lewis. Yeah.
Who's the one? I almost said Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lewis. They used to do the roast there. It's a comedy club. I think they call it
a comedy club or the comedy club. And is the comedy club a club? Because this is a club, not just something named a club.
Yeah, no, it's a club.
You have to join it?
Yeah, where they used to do those roasts.
You can't just go. You have to join it.
The roast with Phyllis Diller.
Oh yeah, Phyllis Diller.
You have to join.
Dean
But they do
Martin,
when
Sammy
they do the
Davis
roast,
Jr.,
Dean
Frank
Martin.
Sinatra.
Yeah,
the whole Rat Pack. All those guys.
I was watching a clip from the roast, and it was Don Rickles roasting, and it was
he was
Frank
the best.
Sinatra. Yeah. Oh man, he got up. Frank Sinatra got up and walked over and just put his hands on Rickles. Just you're gonna be so dead later. It was God.
The chairman of the board.
It was amazing.
Man. Yeah.
The chairman of the board saying you're gonna be dead later.
Wow.
But man, that was about 2 weeks ago. I was going down the comedy club because I wanted to laugh at stuff. But man, the stuff they said to each other back then would not be able to get away with it today.
Oh no! Oh man, it was.
Oh my!
But it was so funny. It's what made it so funny. It was just so no holds barred. It was fantastic. So as far as guesses go, we've got. Let's see here. Playboy Club, Friars Club,
Rudy. It was
Cotton Club.
Friars Club was the comedy club. Yeah.
Peabody Club,
Rudy.
Toastmasters,
Peabody Club. Wait, wasn't the Peabody? Isn't that a cartoon character?
That's Sherman and Peabody. Peabody and Sherman.
Sherman and Peabody?
Yeah, that's the dog and the boy, my boy Sherman. I'm Peabody, my boy Sherman. And the Wayback Machine. Yeah. Okay.
And Lala, Doug, and Randall all went with Friars Club. Alan went with Friars Club. That's the club. That's the comedy club.
Okay. So the question is, what club dating back to 1904 is headquartered in a Jacobean revival mansion known as the Lowell Thomas Building in New York City? Now, I used to... Actually, I didn't belong to it. My company belonged to the New York Athletic Club, and it was in a big mansion-like place right on Central Park South, and that's where we used to stay when we went to New York for business trips at the New York Athletic Club. So that's the only club that I have any real understanding of in New York. Pretty cool place. Anyways, and the answer is, okay, well, nobody got this. Nobody got this one. The Weirdo Club, that's probably more appropriate, Sergeant Peterson. It's the Explorers Club, Britt. It was founded in 1904 by some of the era's most prominent polar explorers. The mansion, which is open to the public, holds many artifacts and curiosities from various world explorations or expeditions. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay. This one you're definitely going to get. You ready?
Oh, boy.
And by definitely, I mean you don't have a shot.
Yeah.
In 1876, a West Virginian man named Virgil A. Gates took out a patent for a curious invention. What was it?
For a curious invention.
In 1876, a West Virginian man named Virgil A. Gates took out a patent for a curious invention. What was it?
What was the year?
1876.
That was the year you were born, right?
Yeah, that was the year I was born, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right, no,
You
two,
should
two,
know
year,
this
2 years after you, yeah.
Yeah. 18. So is the saying a curious invention? Is the word curious? Is that some kind of weird hint?
It might be. It might be. I don't know. It's nothing special about it on the, it's not like in italics or something here. It's just regular, but it says in 1876, a West Virginian man named Virgil A. Gates took out a patent for a curious invention. What was it?
Could it be like a microscope or a telescope?
They had microscopes and telescopes before 1876. I mean, unless there's a special kind.
But were there patents in? I mean, well, they were always developing and making new stuff. That's what I'm gonna go with something. It's some kind of like something for research, like a telescope or a microscope, something like that. That's what I'm going with.
Magnifying glass?
I think that's pretty basic, but like the way that the mechanism within the scope, tubular thing, or the eyepiece. I mean, all that, it could have been a special way to do it, to be able to see farther or see smaller. Mm-hmm. So he patented it, and it's curious. It's for the people who are researching and figuring stuff out. That's
okay, so we have answers coming in here. We've got the answering machine, electric motor, binoculars, the mustache shield.
The mustache shield? What the hell?
Time machine, refrigerator, something that kills you. Okay. So the question was, in 1876, a West Virginian man named Virgil A. Gates, I wonder if he's related to Bill Gates, took out a patent for a curious invention. What was it? And the answer is, Gene had it with a mustache shield. Gene, did you look that up? How would you know that, Gene? The shield.
What the hell's a mustache shield?
I'm going to tell you right now. The shield, which could be worn over the upper lip and mustache, was intended to prevent mustaches from interfering with eating and drinking. What an ingenious idea!
What the hell?
What an ingenious idea!
Oh my god! Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh,
all right, Lala, I'm going to make a Whatnot shirt tonight.
Yeah, and you can find the you can find the merch. Yeah, you can find the merch if you go to paranormalirl.com and click on the merch tab. You'll find the merch site. All right, one more question, and we are done for tonight. You saw this yesterday, Brian. You saw the mustache shield yesterday, and it's made across the pond.
In use?
Or are you talking about something else? Okay, last trivia question for the night. Here we go. In the United States, August 4th is a national day for what beloved sweet treat? In the United States, August 4th is a national day for what beloved sweet treat?
Deep fried Pop-Tarts.
Brian says it was on a show on the Travel Channel. That's pretty cool. Did you see that there, Gene? Did you say deep fried Pop-Tarts? Is that what you just said?
Yeah. I was just at the fair, and they had deep fried Pop-Tarts. I had a deep fried strawberry Pop-Tart. It was amazing.
Oh, man.
That and deep fried Oreos.
Okay. In the United States, August 4th is a national day for what beloved sweet treat? Scooter says ice cream.
Foxy Lady says Hershey Kisses.
Gene says dark chocolate. Iowa says s'mores. D says coffee cake. Lala says strawberry shortcake. Rebel says donut. Randall says apple pie. Fridge Dweller says corn pops. I wonder if that's a reference to Biden. Hershey Kisses, you said?
123 says COVID-19.
Shove Your Vax says chocolate chip cookie. All great guesses. I like scooters. I like the ice cream idea. I think that might be right. What do you think?
Maybe. Could be. Hell, I don't know. Why don't you tell us?
Thanks for that. In the United States, August 4th is a national day for what beloved sweet treat? The answer is, chocolate chip cookies. Shove Your Vax had it correct. Chocolate chip cookies today.
Wow. Take
a moment to be grateful for Ruth Graves Wakefield, who invented the chocolate chip cookie recipe. What's her name? Ruth Graves Wakefield.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned that on that show that talks about the food that made whatever, America, I guess, or what's that show?
Yeah, the food that made America. You've learned about the chocolate chip cookie and on the food that made America?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were talking about Famous Amos and the other one. But they talked about the original, how the recipe started.
Interesting.
It was with that lady.
So
yeah, she ran out of cocoa powder, I guess, and she just figured I'll just cut up this little chocolate bar she had, throw it in the mix, and it would melt and ooze. And that's how it didn't melt and ooze, but it made
interesting.
Chips.
Yeah, it's funny that you because that's on Travel. No, it's on History Channel, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is History Channel.
Yeah. Okay. Great show. The one I watched, they talked about Heinz ketchup, which was a fascinating story. They talked about Coca-Cola, another fascinating story. They talked about McDonald's. That story I've heard enough. What was the other one they did in that? Oh, Kellogg's, which was a great story too. Basically,
I've watched the donuts between Dunkin' and Krispy Kreme and
that's a lot more current. That's a lot more current, isn't it? I mean, the donut wars.
Yeah, it does come to but interesting story. I mean, it was pretty cool.
I just love those stories about.
Famous is into the 70s.
Yeah, I love those stories about the turn of the century inventors and people who basically gambled everything 5 times before they hit on something that worked, and then they became corporate barons. And Heinz is one of all those guys were one of these types of guys. They were bankrupt over and over, and they just kept trying, and they finally hit something that made them icons, icons in American industry. Those are pretty cool. Hershey's was another one that was on that show. It's pretty cool stories. I really, really love those stories. They're inspirational because today's society, people, instead of they don't have any whatever, they look to somebody to support them or whatever, whether it's the government or whatever it happens to be. These people didn't have that option, so they had to be. They just kept working until they came up with something, and they. It's pretty cool stories anyway.
Well, but if you think about it, especially the turn of the century stuff, those people couldn't succeed today. Too much regulations. They would never be able to make it happen.
Can you imagine Heinz in his kitchen making ketchup for the first time and having to deal with the health department of 2020, 2022? The state health regulation, all that stuff. I mean, it never would happen. Or just the whole idea of building a factory to make product.
Oh God, yeah. No, today you couldn't do that.
Couldn't do it.
You have to have so much money to do it. If you were a startup making something, it couldn't happen. So you would start up and you would get rolling, and then Amazon would just buy you out.
Well, that's why only the large corporations can do this anymore, because they're the only ones that have the resources to jump all those hurdles. Anyway, we don't want to go down that road tonight. Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember Colonel Sanders was another one in that. That's right, Fridge Dweller. It's Fringe.
Yeah,
I said
Sanders.
Fridge Dweller. It's Fringe Dweller. Not Fridge.
But the one thing about that show that I really liked was the Krispy Kreme one, the Krispy Kreme Dunkin' Donut comparison, and how they battled it out. But the Krispy Kreme two partners, they were there making it. They would only sell Krispy Kreme to grocery stores. But the factory workers kept coming and knocking on the door, just wanting, hey, can we buy? Can we buy? And one partner was like, we don't do this, we don't. And the other partner was like, we should sell. I don't know, we'll just, what we only sell to. And the stoogey guy, they go, no guy. He went into his fucking office to do paperwork, and his partner just picked up a sledgehammer and knocked a hole in the wall and made the first drive-through or the walk-by window, and he was selling donuts. And that's how they started. The guy goes, what are you doing? And then he sees money rolling and goes, oh, that's a smart idea. But I just loved it because the partner went in and the other partner said, I'm not listening. You screw you. And starts knocking on the walls. I loved it.
That's similar to the Kellogg story. Anyway. By the way, I just want to note that we went an hour and a half with a G rating. And then during a donut story, we lost it. Just if anybody's keeping track. Thank you for the cookie 123 RMW in Foxhole. Thanks so much for that, Spinky. We were talking about cookies. That's very, very appropriate. Yeah. Okay. Well,
thank you so much for the support.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Again, go check out the merch page. Go to paranormalirl.com and click on the merch thing there. It'll click through and you'll see it. Yeah, it's not really a button. It's just the word. It's the word. It's a link. Just click on it, and you'll see that stuff. Also, I just want to point out something. This show is relatively safe on YouTube, where other shows that we've done are not. And YouTube just introduced a new feature. I think it's called Super Thanks, and it's not available during the live show. But anybody watching this video after the fact and would like to contribute to the cause here can click on a super thanks and make that contribution at any point, because once the video is archived, it's there forever, theoretically, and you can make that contribution at any point, as opposed to super chats, which have to be done during the live. What keeps happening that you keep going looking like you're in the demon hell of Spawn red something going on there?
I don't know. Can you? I don't
a light
touch
goes
anything,
off
and all of a sudden, no, it's my computer. My computer all of a sudden goes from the 3 screens down to just the laptop, and then I can't see shit. And things are going off in my head. And
adjust your power settings probably on the other screens. Gene, super chats are available here. It's all set up there if anybody wants to do that too. And we do appreciate the contributions because, as Britt's pointed out a bunch of times, the software that we use to do this, and there's a lot of expenses associated with keeping this flowing, and we appreciate the help for that. So thank you to anybody who chooses to help us out. Buying shirts and stuff on the merch page helps as well.
Helps as well. And honestly, I mean, JV and I, we're not going to take this money and put it in our pockets, and go buy hookers and blow. I figure if we're in the R rating, we might as well just go for it. That's not what we're doing, but we would love to be able to go to some locations and live stream from them a ghosty investigation, or just looking for a Bigfoot, or with this whole new technology that Verizon's putting out with this 5G ultra wide frequency, super fast speeds from your hotspot. We would like to do some of that stuff and actually bring some stuff to the show to you guys that you could go along with us, so to speak. We'll put cameras on us and, kind of like a live thing. But again, that all costs money. So and that's really what we're going to do with it.
Oh,
whoa.
Wow.
We just got 1990. Wow. No. Thank you for that.
This is a super chat.
I don't even know how to say it. Wow.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
I
think okay. I think that's our first super chat.
Oh, D, thank you too. Wow. See what happens? If
okay, our
breaks
second
the ice.
super chat. Somebody breaks the ice. Oh my god.
Thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
But that's what we would love to do. We would love to go places and take stuff and
when you and I decided to relaunch this, rebrand Beyond Reality to Paranormal IRL and relaunch this, our objective, in addition to doing this show and interviewing people, was to get out in the field and do investigations and research and check out cool stuff. I mean, it's not always going to be investigation. It might just be going on location and checking something out and streaming it while we're doing it. We really want to get out in the field and do that kind of thing, because that'll be a lot of fun and it's really interesting. And it gets us out of these caves that we're in too, which would be nice.
Yes, that would be really nice, because the cave is getting a little boring. Lose the shirt.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Wait, who loses the shirt?
You, obviously.
I think they're asking you. No, I think they're asking for you. No one wants to see my fat body.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that super chat as well. We appreciate it. We're done for tonight. We went a little overtime, actually. We try to keep this show a little more concise, but thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. And phasing in and out of the dimension, maybe British secretly of Bigfoot. That is a great theory. I think we might have to investigate that.
Yes.
Cecil is love.
Like
Cecil is
that.
love. Anyway, all right, that's going to do it for today. Again, thanks everybody for being here. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the contributions in Foxhole. We have another great interview coming up Thursday night. I don't remember who it is, but I do remember it's great. It's going to be fantastic even. It's going to be wonderful.
Are you sure we have somebody?
No. Do we have somebody or not? Look at the calendar.
I don't know either. I'm actually going to the calendar right now to look.
Yeah. I think we do.
Oh, God.
Don't we?
Yeah, I think we do, too. I think it's someone really amazing.
It is. It's fantastic. That's what I was saying.
Fantastic. I mean, just a beautiful human being. I got my new iPhone, so I'm not signed into anything, so I can't get to it.
Well, I can tell you.
Yeah, so I suck
here. You do. That was horrible. That was horrible. We've got nobody. We've got nobody on Thursday at this point, so I don't know if we'll.
They're amazing. They are amazing.
We'll end up getting someone in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll call around. I'll see if I can get somebody half naked to come on. That would be from the waist down.
Half naked.
That would be amazing.
Ixnay on the tite. Oh, God. On that note, we'll see everybody next time. Thanks for being here. Have a great night.
Today!
Targeted a creature that was 6.5 to 7 feet tall.
The CIA ran secret mind control experiments.
It's a tale of a creature that's been seen by many, but believed by few.
And experts say there have been reported sightings of paranormal activity.
And there was this creature, and it ran down this hill.
They say something was flying over their house, and they have no idea what it was.
How the world's most powerful individuals are actually shape-shifting reptilians.
My scariest ghost hunting experience.